Have you ever looked at our economy and just felt like something's different? Like the usual charts and graphs, they just don't tell the whole story of Filipino life, right? Well, today, we're going to go way beyond the numbers. We're going to explore the unique soul of the Philippine economy and the story it tells about who we are. So, let's dive right in.
All right, so here's what we've got lined up. We're going to start with something super familiar, a single sachet, to see what it can really tell us about our country. Then, we'll put on this special lens called Filipology to see the culture behind our money, dig into the data for hidden stories, take a peek at what we can learn from our neighbors, and finally, we'll pull it all together to understand our own economic story.
Okay, let's kick things off with a simple, everyday experience. I'm talking about something most of us do without even thinking, but believe me, it holds a pretty fascinating secret about our entire national economy.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That single sachet of shampoo, one stick of a cigarette, a tiny bag of cooking oil. Why is this tinggi system so common here in the Philippines? Is it really just about having a tight budget?
Well, the answer is so much bigger than just that. It actually reveals something really deep about our resourcefulness, our sense of community, and honestly, the very fabric of who we are as a country. It's a survival tool and a unique cultural signature all rolled into one. So to really get a handle on things like the tinggi system, we can't just use standard economic models. We need a special lens, one that lets us see our own reality from our own unique point of view.
And that lens is called Filipinology. Basically, it's the study of ourselves for ourselves. So instead of just slapping on foreign models that don't quite fit, the goal here is to really dig deep and understand what it means to be Filipino by looking at our own culture, our language, and our history.
Okay, now let's compare that with the classic definition of economics. It comes from a Greek word that means household management. At its core, it's just the system of how stuff is made, passed around, and used. Super practical, and it's meant to be universal.
So here's where you really see the difference. Traditional economics, it's all about the numbers, the data. It asks, how much? And it sees a transaction. But the Filipinology lens, that focuses on our culture, our history. It asks why. It sees the values and the human relationships behind that transaction. And that adds this whole other layer of meaning to the data. All right, so now that we have this lens, let's put it to work. We're going to look at some really powerful examples of how our unique Filipino culture is directly shaping our economy. Let's start with Bayanihan, that incredible spirit of helping each other out. It's not just some nice idea you see in old paintings of people carrying a house. When a typhoon hits or during a crisis like the pandemic, or even just when a neighbor is going through a tough time, Bayanihan becomes this powerful, informal economic system. It's like a safety net we weave ourselves out of our relationships. It proves that our biggest resource, it's each other. Or how about this number? Just take a second to let that sink in. That's how much money our overseas Filipino workers sent home in 2023 alone. And that's not just a financial transaction, right? That number represents billions of individual acts of love, of sacrifice. It's a massive pillar of our entire national economy, and it's fueled by one thing, the deep cultural value we place on family. And our economic story is even hiding in plain sight. In our national symbols. Think about the jeepney. It was born from old military surplus, and it just perfectly captures our creativity and the power of the informal economy. Adobo. That's all about our resourcefulness, making something amazing with what we have. And the barong Tagalog, that speaks to centuries of craftsmanship in our local weaving industries. Okay, so we have all these powerful cultural stories. But here's the big question. Does any of this actually show up in the hard data, in the numbers? Well, let's take a look and find out. So economists have this tool called trend analysis, and it's pretty cool. It's basically how they take years and years of raw data, just a bunch of numbers, and turn it into a clear story. It lets us see the patterns to see where we've come from and maybe even where we're headed. And here's a perfect example. Just look at the trend for OFW remittances. Back in 1996, it was around 26.6 billion pesos. Fast forward to 2023, and it's absolutely skyrocketed to over 238 billion. This table isn't just showing numbers, it's telling this epic, multi-decade story of sacrifice, of globalization, and the incredible growing economic power of Filipinos all over the world. So how is all that cash actually getting back home? This chart breaks it down. And what's really interesting is that while banks are still the biggest channel, look at that. More than a third of it is now coming through money transfer services.
And that's actually a really big deal. It tells us that more people are getting access to financial tools and that there's a growing trust in these modern, and let's be honest, often more convenient ways to send money.
Okay, to get some perspective on our own journey, let's zoom out for a second. What can we learn from the so-called economic miracles that our neighbors in Asia have pulled off?
I mean, look at Japan and South Korea. Their incredible economic booms weren't just about smart government policies. They were deeply, deeply connected to their cultural values. For Japan, you have this intense dedication and respect for hard work. For South Korea, it was this amazing sense of national unity. But do you know what the common thread was? A powerful, shared pride in supporting their own local brands. We're talking Samsung, Hyundai, LG. That pride helped launch them onto the world stage.
And that powerful lesson brings us right back home. If passionately supporting their own local industries was such a huge key to their success, what does that mean for us here in the Philippines? What does it mean for the Buy Filipino movement?
Okay, check this out. Get ready for this number. An incredible 99.63%. That's the percentage of all registered businesses in the Philippines that are what we call MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises. I mean, wow. They're not just a part of our economy. They practically are our economy. They are the absolute backbone.
And here's exactly why supporting them matters so much. There's this thing called the multiplier effect. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. For every 100 pesos you spend at a local small business, about 68 of those pesos stay and circulate right there in your local community. That is way more than what stays when you spend at a big international chain. So buying local, it's literally a direct investment in your own neighborhood.
So, we've looked at everything, from a tiny sachet to our deepest cultural values, from the hard data to the lessons from our neighbors. So, what's the big picture here? What is our economic story really?
Here's the story. Our economy is deeply, profoundly human. It's not some cold machine that just spits out numbers. It's a living, breathing reflection of who we are as a people. The Tiingi system, that's our adaptability. Bayanihan, that's our strength and community. And those billions in remittances, that's our unbreakable commitment to family. Our economy is, without a doubt, uniquely Filipino.
And so all of this leaves us with one final and I think really powerful question to think about. If our economy truly is a story that reflects our values, and if we're the ones writing that story every single day, with every peso we earn and every peso we spend, then what kind of story do we want it to tell about us for all the generations to come?